Stu O'Connor.
Okay. Hi, everybody. It's a real privilege to be here. I want to thank Brooke and Anthony for asking me to come, and Bob for putting it on. And I'm generally more of a musician than a poet, but so I haven't really actually done a reading for a while, so I'm looking forward to doing this. I'm going to start with some political stuff because yesterday I was in Washington, D.C., actually playing music for a March for Public Education, and being in the belly of the beast, as it were, kind of made me think this might be a good way to get some of this out of my system. So this is called Nation of Cranks. Keep your ancient lands, your storied pomp, Emma Lazarus. It wasn't the people with sociable genes who fled the crowded old world for the new continent. It was the people who didn't get along with others, Jonathan Franzen. Give me your disgruntled, your peevish, your envenomed, your agitated, longing to do what they want when they want. Send me your nettled and pissed, those tired of retribution and persecution, looking to damn forth others into their own beliefs. Give me your irritated, your vexed, those born too late to ride the old world gravy train, hoping to rape the new. Share with me your disaffected and depressed, looking for a new and unvarnished barroom to start a brouhaha. I lift my lamp beside the golden door to welcome the angry, the irked, the exasperated, and the annoyed, to welcome these tempest-tossed cranks to a world ripe for the argument. It's a short one called DC Drive-By. A confederacy of dunces run by a congress of fools is like a supersized hard-on, pointlessly pointing toward nowhere, toward nothing, penetrating nothing but the void. This is called 83 South, although actually I wasn't on 83 South, but I've traveled many times on 83 South, so I have no idea why it worked that out this way, but it did. I'm driving south, deep into the bowels of Holy Mother America. Among the ringworms and parasites, the bile and decay, lies a sleeping demon, awakening. Awakening after 20 centuries to slouch toward the city of God, to challenge truth with hubris and guile, challenging truth, challenging faith, challenging free thought with lies and churlish greed and blood-smacked lips. He slouches and belies, he slouches and bellies his way toward the end time, toward the consuming fire, toward a nuclear winter so frigid that none will find the warmth to survive. I wrote that in 2003, and it just seemed about right for now. All right, so that's enough of the political stuff. So it's summertime, and I'm going to do some beverage poems. So, everybody likes beverage. I'll try and do a summery theme thing here. And so we have, this is called Forbezo, who was a Japanese poet and tea seller who kind of had a fairly prosperous life and then just left it behind to write poetry and sell tea. Many times impoverished, but beautiful stuff. This is Forbezo. Minds meet across centuries, across oceans, over a cup of tea and a book of verse. The tea, immortal buds, transports us to the Wuling spring. The verse of the old tea seller, just as delicious, just as timeless. This is called Illumination. another short one. Your cup of coffee is linked to my cup of coffee by the illuminating universal light. Thus illuminated, together we read. Nothing like coffee and reading it, huh? This is a true story. This is called Barney Party. It's about, it's kind of like a summer beverage poem, so Barney Party. Ed was one of those blustery, good-natured guys, larger than life, with a glazed and awestruck look in his eyes that bespoke his wonderment at life and the beauty of the world. Barney was a 6 1/2 foot purple dinosaur whom Ed had hired for his youngest son's birthday party in the middle of a blistering summer's day. Barney did his routine, shucking and jiving, and the kids loved it. Ed loved it. Hell, even Ed's wife loved it, given the propensity of women to rarely comment on the viability of any dinosaur, let alone a big purple one. Ed began to feel sorry for Barney, shucking and jiving and dancing and giggling in that sadistic heat for all those happy little kids, so he called a conference with the purple one down at the end of the driveway, away from all the kids. Hey, you want a drink? You sure look hot in that dino suit. To which the hapless Barney gladly acquiesced. And Ed and Barney proceeded to tie one on. About an hour later, Barney the dinosaur stumbled away, dehydrated and drunk on his purpleness and a good many beers, considerably less stable than when he first arrived. But Barney was happy, and Ed was happy, and what the kids didn't know didn't hurt him. Here's a few for another thing to do in the summer, if for nothing else than to just rent some air conditioning, is go to the movies, right? And I enjoy movies, and I have a few movie poems. So let's see what happens with these. Not sure which ones I want to do, but all right. Humphrey's Blues. Humphrey Bogart was a bad motherfucker. With a cigarette dangling hangdog face, he could talk shit with the baddest dudes, gangster or gangsta. If he were around today, he might scratch his head and wonder, why can't I have a smoke with my dinner, see? What do you mean bourbon's not good for your health? How come all these dames are going crazy these days? And after he asked his questions with that patented tough guy patter, he'd just grab Kate Hepburn by the arm and say, let's get out of here, baby. There's nothing worth stealing around here. And Bogey and Hepburn would turn and walk straight back into the mists of time where things made sense and a guy could catch an even break. This is called The Circle of Life. In the 1951 film Cry, the Beloved Country, a black minister rides a South African train from the far country into Johannesburg. As the train clicks and clacks, his black companions point out the gold mining operations along the way. The minister has never been to Johannesburg before. His companions explain how the white men dig and blast the earth, refine the gold, and sell it to white Americans. What do the Americans do with the gold? The minister asks. His companions laugh and say, they have a big hole in the ground and they put it back. The minister looks puzzled at this, but he needn't be. Isn't the life of a brick of gold the same as a human life? Everything comes from the earth, returns to the earth. This is a true one. This is Stuart Brackenbridge beheads a chicken. It's a true story from when I was growing up. My grandmother was a hard-drinking shanty Irish crone, and like birds of a feather, she flocked with the same. Stuart Breckenbridge was an alcoholic farmer who barely kept the chicken coop together, let alone the barn. One day, when I was about 6 years old and spending the summer with Grandma, deliriously staying up late nights with Johnny Carson, my grandmother told me we had to go shopping. So off we drove, and the next thing I knew, we pulled into Stuart Breckenbridge's ramshackle excuse for a farm. I had known Stuart as a slightly disheveled Alfred E. Newman type, who stopped by to shoot the shit sometimes with my grandmother and my grandfather, who was also a member of the flock. He had a big toothy grin, floppy ears, and he smoked like there wasn't enough time to fit them all in. He seemed very excited, and he asked me if I liked chickens. Of course I did. He then led us outside to the barnyard, grabbing the axe, chunked into an ancient stump, stained with the blood of hundreds of sacrificial chickens. He ran after the birds, picked one up by the legs, held its body steady on the stump, and swung. I was in complete shock. But certainly less so than the chicken, who ran around, well, like a chicken with its head cut off. Blood spurting out of its neck like a bad Monty Python sketch of a Sam Peckinpah film. Stuart was very proud of himself, grinning ear to ear, and when the chicken finally stopped running, he picked it up and handed it to my grandmother. That night, the chicken was so fresh, I didn't squawk at all from a guilty conscience as we dined in style, following our shopping trip. This is a shorter piece. I have some issues with the way the world works, in case you haven't been able to figure that out yet, but this is called necrophiliacs. There's a vacancy in hound dog heaven, and frankly, I do give a damn. We've embalmed the Magnificent Seven to preserve them from time's shifting sands. Once death was a loaf unleavened with but fond memories of the dead, now they die and they should go to heaven, but they're thrown to the market instead. This is one of the best girlfriends I ever had, was a science fiction fan, as I am. And I wrote this for her. We watched many science fiction films together. And we're still in touch. She lives in Phoenix, but that's too much like, I don't know, the moon for me to, you know. It's hot down there. Right? Anyway, this is called Galaxy Girl. You have laser beam eyes that penetrate my disease, my discomfort, like the one they used to cure that guy in Fantastic Voyage. I'd like to carry you away in my robot arms, just like the one that carried off the girl in the day the earth stood still. I love it when you put your warm arms around me like we're monkey lovers from the planet of the apes. You're out of this world. You're my galaxy girl. This is, I like joke poems. This is a joke poem. It's called Deathbed. How am I doing on time?
Like 14 minutes in.
Oh, okay. This is called Deathbed. He was terminally ill. It was cancer. Cancer of the lungs. And as his family gathered about him in his final moments, and he gasped his remaining breaths, They leaned in closely, listening, curious about his final thoughts, his final wish. And as they leaned forward, craning their necks to hear, he whispered in a barely audible sandpaper rasp, "Ice cream." This is someone I know who dances great. And when she dances 100%. This is called When Nishira Smiles. Nishira's got it all, bountifully spilling out of her dress on the dance floor, not a care in this man's world. Some may call her fat, but man, she can shake that thing in a way that makes the skinny, neurotic girls all look pathetic. Some may call her stupid, but she hasn't wrung her hands in worry for anyone or anything. Some may say she isn't going anywhere in this life, but she's already there, wherever there is. And she's dancing and shaking that thing, full of joy, full of life, full of this moment, just this moment. And when she smiles, she says it all. Here are some fighting words. This is called a glossary. Number 1, 4-letter words. Time hangs omnipotently, masterfully in the air, a silent witness to the follies of man. Wait. I fold my arms, I tap my toe, for time, a slimy snail, an excruciating brawl. Fear, the unknown, the untried, the difficult, and the responsible make me shimmy, shake, and quake. Love. Wrestling with this is like wrestling with yourself. It's hard to tell who's winning. 2, difficult words. Guilt. The judge and jury in my soul's courtroom condemns me to solitary confinement. Career. See hard labor, confusion, blind alleys, and sleepless nights. Also, consult the contract writer in fine print under self-fulfillment. Relationships. See if you can figure this one out on your own. The author claims no responsibility for nonsensical definitions, obsessive-compulsive thinking, overwhelming confusion, or any flights of fancy designed to escape certain realities. Abstention. This is no goddamn fun, but sometimes necessary for the soul. 3, random thoughts. I weep for time lost, which now lies crumpled like a dead body at my feet. I've sacrificed many of my sacred cows on the altar of my sanity. Every time I try mortality on for size, I get an imperfect fit. When staring into the face of death, the eyes have it. Thanks. I'll just move on. I also like to do like little epiphany stuff, and I'm gonna. Where are we at?
It's time for a couple more.
A couple more, okay. So I'll do just a couple more here. This is called geometrically speaking. Geometrically speaking. Don't speak to me in bricks or perfectly logical blocks or squares or boxes. Not even spherical or elliptical musings are allowed in your precisely straight and cubic world. Not even fantasies or fun or make-believe are allowed in your mathematically dogmatic world. Don't speak to me in bricks or perfectly logical blocks or squares or boxes. And I'm going to end with this one, a sonnet. Get a little traditional here. My I'm an English teacher, and sometimes, if I ask the students to write something, I write it with, I write one with them, and sometimes they're actually all right. Most of the time, not, because it's like 10 a.m. in the classroom, I haven't had enough coffee yet, right? So, but this one's all right. It's called, believe it or not, it's called Sonnet, right? When I recall the fading light of dusk and the calm which then descends upon the earth, how all that one time glittered turns to dust, I ponder that which holds life's greatest worth. For like the sun, all life and matter fades, their time upon the terra firma fails. The living lay the dead into their graves, praying for their peace behind the veil. The gift that makes our short life here so sweet, and living on in memory, living on in memory in men's hearts, is the compassion and the giving as we greet our brothers on our journey to path's end. For carrying our brothers' burdens home shall lighten ours and find us less alone. Thanks a lot.